rather.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Introduction. Facility is what is facility condition assessment? The process of inspecting each system in a building to understand its condition. Try to understand three words that are underlined in that definition. One, inspection, inspecting. Then two, understand. Three, condition. Before you can determine the condition of a facility, you need to first of all inspect. After the inspection, your inspection will give you a clear understanding of what the facility is all about. Then, with that understanding, then you can determine what is the condition of that facility. So, and having performed these three tasks, from your inspection, understandings, and its condition, you'll be able to determine what are the deficiencies, what are supposed to be in place that are not in place in that facility. Then, how long can that facility last? And what is the facility condition index, in which we are still going to come up on it later. How do we calculate our facility condition index? What percentage is acceptable? What percentage is fair? And what percentage is unacceptable as far as facility condition index is concerned? So the other definition is that FCA is a multidisciplinary review of various systems of the facility. And what are the systems of the facility? Your system includes your roofing system, your plumbing system, your electrical system, your transportation system, your communication system, and your security system. And under your transportation system, you start talking about your lift, your conveyor, your staircase, and all those stuff. Those are under your what? Under your transportation system in a facility. These are what you consider as FCA. You inspect, you understand the condition of all the system of a facility. And the reason why it is a multidisciplinary is the fact that it is not something that can be carried out only by facility managers alone. Because taking a building, for example, you need possibly a structural engineer to determine the integrity of the building. You need possibly a roof expert to pinpoint area where there are several leakages in the building. You need a plumbing expert to check all your plumbing system. You need an electrical engineer to check all the electrical wiring and every other thing, layout and whatever in that building. So that is the reason why this kind of review is a multidisciplinary and it is multitasking as well. So it is done to provide recommendation regarding the root cause of deterioration or failure. You carried out facility condition assessment to ascertain what is actually causing deterioration in the building. For instance, you have a particular part of the building, a building envelope or the wall that is completely filled with moisture. You can carry out what you call facility condition assessment to know where that challenge is coming from. And when you are doing that, you require your plumber to know if there is a plumbing leakage somewhere. You need your mason guy, after the leakage has been rectified, to redress the building and make it good. Then you need your painter to paint it back. Then to provide a remedial action plan. When you've already itemized what are the problems of the building, you need to draw up a schedule on how you want to tackle each of those faults or each of those problems. Then, apart from that one, how do you raise capital? What will it cost you? How much is it going to cost you in terms of capital, in terms of manpower, in terms of material, in terms of time factor, and in terms of its effects of productivity? Then, in support of operation and maintenance planning. These are the reasons why you carry out what is called facility condition assessment. The facility condition assessment can be a short time, for a short time, you may do that for a short-term financial need. For instance, like next, we are planning to have our budget set for 2022. We can conduct what we call facility assessment to know by next year, 2022, from January to December, what are the repair we need to carry out. What and what are not in this facility that we need to upgrade to a new or a standard one. That is where competitive needs come from. For instance, if a facility manager in a real estate, why are tenants going into an estate opposite me and they are not coming to my estate? Competitive need might be one of the determining factors. So I can conduct a facility condition assessment to know what is even available in that place, why they are going there, and what is not available in my own facility. Then to determine a long-term mandate, building stewardship and strategic alignment. Is our facility in line with the company's strategic goal? If it is not, facility condition assessment can put us in the right direction after we have conducted it and we have our result at hand. Then that tells us we are far, far away from the strategic goal of the company. What are the objectives of facility condition assessment? One, to get what we call asset register. This is one of the reasons why you conduct a facility condition assessment, so that what is not available on your assets register can easily be put in place. Most especially if we are taking up a new facility or we are maintaining a third-party facility and we're taking up that facility for the first time. Before signing any agreement, it is necessary and it is required that we conduct what we call facility condition assessment so that we don't take up liability. Then to prepare engineering description of space for systems and components, identify and record existing condition of the component, to determine the remaining useful life of the component, then to prepare cost estimate related to the maintenance, repair, rehabilitation, or renewal of the system. Also, to prioritize the components for maintenance, repair, and or renewal. To compare the cost of system and component remediation versus cost of facility replacement. So when you conduct your facility condition assessment, you know what is going to cost you to repair or to maintain that facility, or you compare between cost of repair and the cost of replacement. So economic factor will determine which one you are going to choose. So if the cost of repair is huge, which is almost equivalent to the cost of rebuilding the building, it's always better you build it, bring the building down and start construction right from the first stage. So, but how do you determine that? It is through your what is called facility condition assessment. So what are the elements of facility condition assessment? The building interior element, the civil site development and amenity, which include your pavement, your entrance, and your sidewalk. And this one falls under your transport system. You have your document review, which include your drawing, your specification, your report, and your record. Fire protection and life safety regulation. This fall under safety system in your what? In your facility. Then you have your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing system. These are all the system of the what? Building. Your foundation system, with including your structure, which is the building system, your structure, your foundation, and your exterior wall system. The preliminary review and on-site observation, production, process, and packaging equipment. So these are all elements of facility condition assessment. So when you conduct facility condition assessment, what is the result that you get? One, it helps you to understand what is in your portfolio and the condition of each of the facilities. You understand what exactly you are going to be battling with. You understand what exactly you will be maintaining. You understand what exactly you will be handling in terms of operation and maintenance. So you know what you have at hand. And what you have at hand, what are the conditions of those things that you have at hand? That is one of the results of your facility condition assessment. Then two, feasibility into the appropriate level of capital funding for each building and across the portfolio. So you know exactly what is the amount of money you need to start budgeting for those operational maintenance and other revamped or rebuilding or renovation work that you need to carry out in the nearest future. Then, with facility condition assessment, you'll be able to prioritize what exactly you need to put your capital on. Are you putting your capital on minor repair? Are you putting your capital on major repair? Or are you actually putting your capital on outright replacement? And whatsoever you are going to do, you have to have in mind the organization missions and goal. It must tally with organization mission and goal. Then the result also help you to identify all the deficiency in that facility, and you can easily estimate the cost of correcting those deficiencies. Possibly you have a roof leakages, so definitely you need to know the amount of money it's going to cost you to rectify that roof leakage. Then you have a generator that's performing epileptically. You have the cost of how to cost advantage, and it is far in line with the organization goals and mission for you to make a replacement. So what are the benefits of facility condition assessment? It improves your data because you have a detailed data on the condition of the facility at hand. Then you can be able to define the problems that are associated with that facility. Then you have a defensible data to present in justifying the reason why you want to spend money either on capex or on operation and maintenance. So you have data to defend yourself in front of management, the reason why you want to spend that kind of amount of money on that facility. Then streamline facility management and improve facility condition. It allows facility personnel to better plan, manage, and direct what work. It also helps you to prioritize short-term planning issues. So you'll be able to differentiate between what you can easily do within a span of 2 or 3 months, or something that can be delayed for next budgeting or the next calendar year. So these are all benefits you have. These are all the benefits you gain when you conduct what we call facility condition assessment. And your assessment can require you, most of the time, your assessment can require you to spend a lot of money, because it might require you to bring in an architect, it might require you to bring in a structural engineer, it might require you to bring in an electrical engineer, it might require you to bring an MEP engineer. And this doesn't come as a free of charge, it comes as a cost. Or even if at all it's something that you can conduct, maybe you as a facility manager at your team, it might require you spending extra money in paying your staff what we call overtime. So if you are able to determine how much it's going to cost you and how long it's going to take you, because at times condition assessment can take you almost about a month or 2 months, and it's cut at the cost to the management. Excuse me. So what is the purpose of facility condition assessment? One, currently, you evaluate the cause of the deficiency. That is what they call root cause analysis. You'll be able to analyze the root cause of that problem. So you are able to evaluate the cause of the problem. One, you are able to establish the current repair cost of correcting that deficiency. That's two. Then you'll be able to create a prioritized list of repairs. So you know what's needed to be attended to first. Sorry, what is urgent and it is not important. You'll be able to determine what is urgent and it is also important. And you'll be able to determine what is not urgent and it's not also important. Then it also helps you to establish budget that will be successful in controlling costs while the most critical deficiency are resolved. You will resolve most of the issues, challenges on ground, and at the same time, you are able to control your budget. So at the end of the day, you don't have what we call budget deficit. You can see from the diagram shown on the screen that you have between 0 and 2% facility condition index. Your facility is what? Excellent. When you have between 2 and 4%, it is good. When you have between between 2 to 5% rather, it is good. But when you have between 5 to 10%, it is fair. That facility is fairly okay. But when you're having between anything above 10, that means the facility is what? Condition is what? Very, very poor. And at that period in time, most of the time, your best decision to take is a complete revamp or a complete breakdown and rebuild. Because most of the time, by the time you are going to consider the cost of revamping that kind of facility, it might be as huge as equivalent to the cost of building a very new structure. So we said, one, you establish cost of current repair. Then two, you are able to forecast your future cost. Understanding future deficiencies is not as important as calculating the building current condition. Forecast cost by breaking down a building into its individual components. Establish both short-term and long-term budgets by estimating the life of the building system, calculating the forecast cost based on their representative portion of the building total replacement value. So you can see from this diagram that when the condition is okay, starting from up, you see that your maintenance cost is far, far less. When the condition is about coming down, your maintenance cost started increasing. It's come to a point where the two of them meet at a point. So as long as your conditions are getting low, your maintenance cost started on the increase. That is one of the function of and one of the advantage of conducting your facility condition assessment. Then three, it helps you to maintain building data, because with your condition assessment, you have a lot of data at your disposal. You can see from this diagram, when your condition index is 0.1, you see that your maintenance cost is far, far, far low. But when your condition is becoming like 6, if you trace that 6 down to your whatever, you see that your building expenses becoming what? Huge. Then when your condition gets to what? 9, you can see what you have is what? Replacement is what? Required. And for you to extend the life of that building, you need to do what we call an outright replacement. So maintain building data. When you have a better building data at your disposal, you'll be able to forecast, you'll be able to correct, able to be at a current detail and historical data from previous assessments. Then maintaining building data also include a current set of typical deficiency and the best correction for them. So you know what is currently mitigating against that building and what are the best correction methods you can employ. Then you use of cost model life cycle analysis to assign the life expectancy for all building systems. Life model analysis deal with planning stage, start from all the planning stage down to the disposal of that building system. So that is what they mean by cost model life cycle analysis. It starts from the cost of planning, cost of putting that structure in place, the cost is incurred in operation and maintenance, and the cost it includes in disposing that entire building system off. So that is cost model life cycle analysis. That is what you can use to assign life cycle to the life expectancy of the building. Then it also helps you to plan energy efficient system. So when you conduct facility condition assessment, you need come to know if the energy system in that place is what is consuming huge in terms of cost. Then from there, you can now determine how you can start replacing and taking all those gadgets and equipment that are consuming huge amount of energy and replacing them with energy saving components or equipment. From there, you are actually, at the same time, you are actually doing what we call reducing energy consumption in that building. So you can increase the energy effectiveness of a building. Then based on the assessment, the green building attributes, facility customer need, and sustainable building material components are identified. So you know what are those components that you can put in place that's going to give you a better saving on energy, or how you can plan your energy savings very well in that building. So possibly the building doesn't have a meter before, and you conduct a facility condition assessment, and you discover that the existing meter, or there is no availability of check meter or meter that is measuring what the energy usage in that building. So after that, you can determine on how to put a check meter in that place, which checkmates your energy usage, and at the same time is saving cost for you at the same time. So what are the scope of facility condition assessment? One, site inspection. Those are the scope questions. What are the step by step that you need to take in conducting a facility condition assessment? One, you do what we call site inspection. What do you do when you visit the site? To observe the general site improvement and condition of all major building systems, which I've already earlier mentioned. Your building system includes your roofing system, your transportation system, your electrical system, your plumbing system, your foundation system, your structural system, your telecommunication system. So you assess each of the systems by one to determine what are their conditions. So, and this is not something that you can do online. You need to be on site physically. At times, it might require you to go with your measuring tape. It might require you to go with your camera. It might even require you to go with a structural engineer or every other thing. So, but all by and large require you to be on site physically. So it requires what we call site inspection. The second thing is that after the site inspection, you can make use of your building documents. And what are those building documents? Your as-built drawing, which is far different from your engineering drawing. Get it right. Your building records, your construction document. Your construction document will include all your approvals, Lagos State government approval or state government approval, federal government approval before erection, your borehole approval, your sewage treatment plant approval, your construction site approval, your safety approval, and all those stuff, combine them together. Here, your building codes and violations. So then your maintenance record, which you can get from the past people who have been maintaining the facility, or if not, you can also design your own. So after site inspection, you go to reviewing of the building document. Then you start talking about production of the detailed list of schedule of dilapidation. One, a schedule of dilapidation is a description of any defect present in the building. So after you have visited the building, you make use of your drawings and everything. You make a list of all defects, what's supposed to be in the building that is not available. It lists the problem with the maintenance of the building. So it also tells you what are the maintenance challenges you're going to face in maintaining that building. It's a schedule. Dilapidation is prepared after the completion of what conditions. After you have conducted your survey, that is when you prepare what we call detailed list dilapidation. So at times, if you are going to maintain the facility on behalf of your client, you need to actually agree with the client on all this list of dilapidation, because it's either the client spend money and get this thing right before he hand over the facility to you for maintenance, or the client agree with you to go ahead as a third-party service provider, get those defects repair or put them in place, then you can now start maintaining from there. But the bottom line is that there's supposed to be a concrete agreement between you and the client before you go ahead and make a single repair on those defects before you take over. It's either you allow the client to do the repair before you take over, or you do the repair and take over from there. But there must be an agreement between you and the client. So after you have generated your review of dilapidation, the next thing is developing the cost for remedial work. So when you have itemized all the defects, you need to start getting your quotation. After you have gotten your quotation, you need to know how much it's going to cost you to get that work done. Then when you are getting all your quotation ready, you get the final cost of all the repair that needed to be carried out. Then you present that cost for review. So the client is on seat, you are facility manager, you're on seat, and your MDs and all the company representatives from both the client end and your end. You sit down on a round table and you start putting all those information up one by one. Then questions, a lot of questions will definitely come up, but you have your facts and figures at hand to defend every form of question that are coming in. It might require at times you using pictures and every other thing you've taken during your inspection to the site. So you can arrive at a defensible estimate of reinvestment cost. Then identification of areas of improvement. So maybe there are some area you itemize that, okay, we need to change 3 WC. The client might say, okay, why not change this one? This one is old. Let's remove it. Instead of 3 WC, make it 4. Then there are some area that they can say, okay, instead of 4 WC, can we reduce it to 2? Seeing those ones that can still be reduced, they can just tell you that, okay, go and make good those 2 and buy 2 other extra ones. So you'll be able to identify opportunity for adaptation and improvement to the facility. Then you can evaluate the current condition of the asset. All the assets in that facility, it's easier for you to evaluate their condition because you've already picked what we call, you visit the site, you know the condition of each of those assets, evaluating the effective asset, estimating the remaining useful life of the asset, forecast of future life cycle renewal of the asset as they reach the end of their useful service life. Then to provide a benchmark of the current performance of the building. So what are the process it entails when you want to conduct your facility condition assessment? Number 1, you design the assessment. So you need to sit down and determine the assessment scope. How do you want to go by it? Are you doing the assessment in the morning? Is there an assessment that you can carry out in the afternoon, or is there an assessment that you need to be carried out at night? If I'm doing a roof system assessment now, it's not something I can do during the peak day when the sun is at the peak, because the roof is hot and the interior part of the roof is completely extremely hot. So that kind of assessment can be done very, very early in the morning, maybe possibly around 6 a.m. in the morning or around 7 o'clock in the morning, between the hour of 6 a.m. and possibly 10 a.m. in the morning. So you need to design the assessment scope, then select team. And who do I need to conduct this assessment? Do I need a structural engineer? Do I need an architect? Do I need my plumber? Do I need an MEP engineer? Do I need possibly several numbers of approval? Do I need the state government team to be on site? Do I need the state safety commission to be on ground? So you need to sit down and determine who are the team that you'll be using for that condition assessment. And after you have determined the team, you need to mobilize those teams to site. A mobilization might require you paying them some amount of money. Then you need to plan the inspection, arrange site access. So who is holding the key to the site? You need to know who is. It's not that when you get to site, you start looking for who is holding the site key. Who do you need to contact? So somebody must be on ground to make every assessment into every part of the building available for you. Then phase 2, collection of data. Prepare inspection form. Inspection form means you prepare beforehand, before getting to the site, what you need to conduct. Okay, you want to conduct plumbing assessment. Okay, piping work. Okay, floor drain. Okay, WC, gauge valve, pressure valve, non-return valve, conduit valve. You make a list of all the items you need to check in terms of plumbing in that place. WC, are those WC functioning? What is the status of the flow meter inside? So those are what you need to itemize, so that you don't just get to site and start thinking, okay, where do I start from? Which one am I checking first? So everybody that are involved in that facility condition assessment, the whole team, every team member knows what they needed to do as soon as you get to site. Then prepare findings and conclusion reports. Then 3, summarize the results. After you have collated all the results from the plumbing aspect, from the roofing system, from the transportation system, when you have collated all the reports, the next thing you do is that you evaluate the inspection, you prepare summary of the report, hide the data, and prepare quotation for what? Remedial work. And after you have prepared your quotation, you move to what? Phase 4. Then Phase 4 is that you present your findings and your cost to the management. You communicate your findings, you select the final report, you design the presentation, then you use the presentation to meet the management and tell them, this is the total sum of money we are spending. This is the reason why we're spending this amount. Then this might require you to break down your total estimated cost down one by one. Then what are you trying to do in doing that? You are trying to gain the support of the management for their approval to carry out all the aforementioned remedial work. Then the second thing is that when you gain management support, it helps you to put the assessment to work. So you can now from there start your repair work and get all the necessary things you have already itemized to get the condition of the facility back to the what to expect or what you want it to be, or to be in line with the company goal or strategic goal. So what are the instruments required when you want to carry out your facility condition assessment? Like I told you earlier on, you need your measuring devices. It could be a measuring as small as a measuring tape or a ruler. You need to capture data capturing devices or data sheet, like your camera, your phone, your camera, your protective gear, then any other equipment that is necessary. Your biro, your writing pad, your safety boot, your hand glove, your sheet glass, and all the stuff. So you are the one, the condition assessment you are conducting, you will determine the kind of tools that you need. And the tools might be required by third parties, it might not be you per se. So what are the data techniques that you can employ when you are doing your facility condition assessment? Visual review of a representative sample. Your user survey, you can make use of who are the people that have been using that facility before. You can send a survey out to them. With that survey, you collate all the survey and start itemizing all the points raised by each of the users one by one. Then you can do what you call interview. Then you can do what you call document review or satisfaction survey. Are they satisfied with the facility? If they are not satisfied, what are those factors that are mitigating at the end there? What are those things that they are actually facing currently that is not making them get what is called satisfaction in terms as long as that facility is concerned? It could be possibly that at night, the place is not well illuminated. It could be possibly maybe at night, there is no security guard on ground. So one way or the other, if you do satisfaction survey, you'll be able to get exactly what is not making the client happy about the facility condition. Then facility staff review and operator evaluation. You can also get a lot of vital information from people who have been maintaining the facility before, most especially your technicians. They can tell you a lot of things about the machine, or even common cleaner can give you vital information that you might not even get yourself. Then contractor interview, you can ask contractor, possibly those contractors that actually work in that facility when it's still under construction. Then destructive testing on the asset. You can conduct a destructive testing, more or less like your structural integrity test. Then condition monitoring. Then selection of reinvestment formula for calculation of the maintenance budget. These are all what you can do in terms of process of facility condition assessment. So this is an example of a facility condition assessment checklist. You can see, A, we have electrical. And under electrical, what are we checking? Lighting, distribution board, electric fitting. Then under security and safety system, you have your fire alarm. We're checking the fire alarm. We're checking the fire hose. We're checking the CCTV camera or biometric system. In a situation whereby we sign in and we sign out in the office. The mechanical system, your air conditioning, which is your HVAC, then your elevator and escalator, your water system, and your sewage water system. These fall under mechanical system. The power system, including your diesel tank, your generator, your transformer, your UPS stroke inverter, or possibly the solar system. Then your building factory includes your building walls, your roof, your ceiling, your window, and your door. Then other systems include your swimming pool, your refuse system, your gym, your horticulture or landscaping. These are all, this doesn't mean this is how your facility condition assessment should be, what you are seeing on the screen. You can easily sit down and design your own checklist based on the facility you are conducting assessment on. But this is just like a basic, just like a guide to guide you through how you can design your own checklist. This is another example of a facility condition assessment report. You can see, number one, the asset location is in the accounting office. What category is the asset? Electrical system. What is the description of the asset? Ceiling mounted fitting. What is the condition of the asset? It is fair. Why is it fair? What is the defect? Broken fitting cover. Then assessment condition. Is it major or is it minor? Okay, it is minor. Then what is your recommendation? Replacement of fitting what? Cover. So you can zoom, or if you want to use Excel, you can go under filter and pick up what is what? Major. So what is major? You attend to what is major, you make it what? Top priority compared to what is minor. You can see if you check number 1 to 3, you see that number 1 and 2 are just minor items. But number 3 is driver's restroom. What is the issue in the driver's restroom? It's a building fabric, which is your building envelope. The ceiling board. What happened to it? It is bad. What is the description of the defects? Stain on the ceiling board as a result of water leaks from the what? From the roof. So water leakage is a major issue in facility condition assessment. That means when you want to do your filter, you consider the major ones first before you start going to what? To the minor one. Excuse me. Thank you. So these are examples of the facility condition reports. So after you have picked up your major, you can now say, okay, the major, I need contrast, so, who is very specialized in roof to come and help me check this my roof. You gather your quotation from 2 or 3 vendors, then you present it to management for approval. Once they approve it, then you can go ahead and carry out your major repair in rectifying that fault. Then what are the levels of facility condition assessment? There is what we call facility condition assessment driven by top-down assessment, driven by assessment, or top-down assessment. A high-level review that focuses primarily on what? 1, on the system level. 2, with less detail applied to the condition of each individual asset or component in that entire facility. When you are doing what we call drive-by or top-down assessment, you classify each of the assessments in terms of system-wise. You talk about plumbing system, you just say, okay, the plumbing system, we need to spend so amount of money on the plumbing system. We need to spend so amount of money on the roofing system. So a method of collecting data by approaching the facility at the system level, provide general micro statement about the projected concern associated with each of the systems. So you are not going into the detail. You only view the condition of the facility from a far distance. That, okay, let's just budget such amount of money for what? For the roofing repair. Let's budget such amount of money for the plumbing system. Let's budget such amount of money for what? For the building envelope. You just took a driving by. You just pass by the building envelope and say, okay, let's budget this amount of money. But that is different from when you conduct what we call a crawl through or a walk through. When you do a crawl through, it may take you a lot of time. It may even last you for like at least 4 months, which is called different compared to what? Drive-by assessment. Because drive-by assessment, it's something that you can even conduct within a day. But walk through or crawl through require you to pay a very, very critical attention to every single component of the entire facility. Complete assessment of each component one by one. You pick WC and you check every component of that WC one by one. You pick your urinary. You take every check on that urinary one by one. And you take entire toilet system and take a complete check on every component in that toilet one by one. That is different when you do a drive-by assessment or top-down assessment. Then that takes us to what we call walkthrough assessment. Walkthrough assessment is a colloquial expression of the mid-range level of assessment on a 3-tier scale. You have the drive-by, you have the walkthrough, and you have the crawl-through. So walkthrough is just like the second stage of assessment out of the 3 types of assessment that you can conduct when you are conducting facility condition assessment. Then the walkthrough include on-site visual assessment to collect empirical data on the condition of the asset. But the third one, which is crawl-through assessment, is also an expression of highest level of assessment of the 3-tiered scale. This crawl-through takes both the drive-through and the walk-through and embedded in under what we call crawl-through, because you have to drive by, you have to walk through, and you have to crawl at the same time by checking every component of the system one by one. It's a rigorous assessment of the asset that is carried out as a component level assessment or bottom-up assessment in order to gather empirical data. The assessment team spend more time on field, on observation. They spend huge amount of time. So the structural engineer spend correct and quality times on the building structure in terms of foundation structure at the same time. The MEP engineer spend a quality time on the plumbing, mechanical aspect of the building to know what is attainable and what is required to do. Then you have the advantage of crawl-through assessment. You get detailed information, you get actionable data. Then, but the advantage is that, disadvantage is that it is expensive because it requires a lot of experts to be put in place. And those experts you are putting in place to conduct that assessment, they don't come free of charge, they come at a cost. Then it is also time consuming. Then most of the time, it may not be necessary for all assets. It may not be required for all assets, most of the time. So we're going to have a short break. We'll be back by 5 minutes after 5. Or let me say, this is some minutes to 5, 7 minutes to 5. We'll be back by exactly 5 o'clock. Once we are back by 5 o'clock, we start from facility performance evaluation. So thank you very much. Let's just move around, stretch our leg. Then if you want to go for break, you can do that within a span of just 5-7 minutes. Then we'll be back by 5 on dot. Yeah, welcome back, everybody. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yes, we can hear. I can hear you.
Yo, we are welcome back from break.
I can hear you.
But I hope we didn't use the opportunity to take enough apple and so that we don't start within some minutes trying to become like Joseph. Okay, let's go back. You can unmute yourself while I'll be the only one that will unmute myself. You can unmute yourself while I'll be the only one that will mute myself. Okay, we're starting from facility performance evaluation. How do you evaluate your facility? Before you can actually evaluate your facility, you must have what we call a benchmark of what is your expectation. How do you want your facility to perform? What is the minimal expectation performance you expect from that facility? That is when you can now say, okay, my facility is actually performing right or wrong. Unless you have an expected minimum performance value or level, you can't be able to determine if your facility is actually performing below expectation or above expectation. There must be a yardstick that you're going to use to determine if that facility is actually performing to your expectation. Facility performance evaluation is an extension of what has been called post-occupancy evaluation. It is a continuous process of systematic evaluating the performance or effectiveness of one or more aspects of building in relation to each such as accessibility, aesthetic, cost effectiveness, functionality, productivity, safety, security, and sustainability. So before you can say your facility is performing effectively, what aspect of the facility are you actually measuring? So in terms of security-wise, you must have a minimum expected performance that you are going to actually measure. In terms of aesthetic look, in terms of accessibility, in terms of your transportation system, in terms of functionality, productivity, then there must be a minimum acceptable that you can use as a yardstick to actually determine if your system is above or is below your expectation in terms of performance. But your evaluation shouldn't be a one-time scenario that you just perform only once. No, it must be a continuous stuff, because like when we're discussing on asset management on Tuesday, we talk about reviewing, renew, revamp, reassess. So when you evaluate your facility on a consistent basis, you'll be able to have what we call a consistent feedback. Then with your feedback, consistent feedback, you'll be able to know what are your shortcomings and what are areas where you lack and what are areas you have deficiencies. So in order to bridge all those gaps, these are what your evaluation can and will always provide and will always assist you to do. So assessment is not evaluation in terms of condition of your facility is not something you should do once in a year, or maybe it must be consistent so that you'll be able to know area where you are performing low. And once you know the area where you are performing low, you need to have what we call an immediate remedy on how to get it back on track. Then it also helps you to better understand the impact of early design delivery decision on long-term efficiency and the effectiveness of the building. To better understand the impact of building delivery process and decision, customer responsible both initially and over the life cycle of the building. It extends beyond a physical assessment and it includes consideration of obsolescence and others such as qualitative factors. So it's not about physical assessment alone. You need to consider if your facility is becoming obscured or what is the qualitative factor the facility is actually giving currently. So these are what you stand to get when you conduct your condition evaluation. So from there, you need to know if your facility is performing excellently, if it is performing good, if it is average, if it is very good, and if it is poor. And most of the time, you make use of your tenant or you make use of the, let me put it, an end user to determine all this evaluation. Because the end user will actually tell you the challenges they are facing as far as that facility is concerned. So the applying phase, you prepare the document you are going to use to evaluate your facility. Then after you prepare the document and you give it to all the necessary that is going to evaluate, you report all the findings of the analysis. Then when you report, when you get all your feedback, you pick, you streamline which one is most out of all the feedback. When you filter, you can have it in the order of descending order. The one that is 100%, the one that is 80%, the one that is just like 50% down, you can even put those one aside. You can take 50% off. Then when you take 50% off, you start analyzing those reports. After you have analyzed them, you come out with recommendation. What are the actions you need to take? Then after you have come up with your recommendation, you put those actions in place, then you still review After you put those actions in place, you monitor those actions, and after they are being done, you still review them to know that the action you have put in place, the outcome also supports the effectiveness of your facility. Outcomes are important because they may be used as a feedback to modify or improve the next cycle of your facility performance evaluation process. It is very, very key. You need to monitor. It's just like when you do your evaluation survey, the major thing that the end user complains about is your security architecture. Possibly you are having two security in the whole of the facility, and they are complaining that most of the time there's no security on site, there's no security available. So let's assume you increase the security architecture from 2 to 4, and when you had that 4, that doesn't mean you should stop there. You should still conduct an end user survey to know that, okay, is the security architecture in good, or are we satisfied with the security architecture we have now? That's where you have outcome. When you implement a survey, when you implement it and you put those actions in place, you still need to conduct what we call a feedback survey to make sure that that condition and those recommendations, those actions you've already taken meet up the expectation of your valuers. And if it is not, you still need to know the area where you need to improve. The 4 security you put in place might be okay, but the bottom line is that, are those security performing to expectation? Are they actually performing their duty? So instead of you increasing the number of security and eventually paying for idleness, you can review, are those security performing the tasks they are expected to perform on a daily basis? Are they living up to their responsibility? If not, you might even still need to reduce them down to 3 instead of that 4 that you initially put in place. That's the reason why continuous evaluation of your facility system is required. Then, benefit of your facility performance evaluation. 1, you get short-term benefits which related to immediate design decision. Then facility maintenance and management issue, which are what you can actually do immediately. Then you gain what we call medium-term benefit, which is within the range of 3 to 5 years period, related to generating useful information for future projects. The long term, which is anything between 10 to 25 years period benefit, related to improving the long-term performance of the building and to justify major expenditures. That is where one of the benefits of your facility performance evaluation comes into play. There is always difficulty involved in establishing a clear link among the user's assessment, positive outcome, and physical environment. The relationship between facility design and facility performance evaluation is always complex and fuzzy. Why they're saying this is that when you do end users evaluation, there are a lot of things that your end user will want you to put in place in that facility that either cost or your budget might not support. You have a facility whereby you have a generator that is possibly not performing to expected value. But the bottom line is that at that period in time, during that calendar year, your budget doesn't support a capex worth of 10 million naira or 25 million naira to buy another generator. But the occupants are actually requesting for a brand new generator. At that period in time, that is the reason why you can have a fuzzy or complex relationship between you as a facility manager and your valuer, which are the end user. So there is always a kind of a difficulties when you want to link the request of your end user as a valuer and you as a facility manager compared to what you have on ground. So you can You always have challenges when you want to link your user assessment, your positive outcome, and the physical environment, because there are some certain times that you know that, okay, this facility require a very, very good upgrading. But the bottom line is that the cash at hand, your cash flow, or your money at your disposal, or what of investors are not ready to even put in money into that facility? So that means you are left with what is available. You are left with the resources that is available, you are left with capital that is available, and you have to find a means of pacifying your client to make sure they are satisfied with what is available. So most of the time, facility performance evaluation is always tasking, and it is always very, very difficult when you want to link it up. And most of the time, it's always causing a rift between the end user and you as a facility manager when you want to evaluate the performance of your facility, because they will eventually tell you your facility is not performing up to that. But the bottom line is that there is a way you can make use of what is available, at least to a certain level of their satisfaction, because you cannot, human being are insatiable animal. I can assure you, in a facility, you can provide 100% of what the clients are required or what your tenants are actually required from you. It's either the cost is not allowing you to do that, or your budget is not allowing you to do that, or the money that is available is not allowing you to do that, or even what of you are getting approval from the top management. There's nothing you can do. You can't use your own money to like fix a lot of things within the facility. How to conduct successful facility performance evaluation. Develop a clear system about what the organization wants to achieve. If you actually want to conduct a facility, an evaluation on how to have energy saving, don't misquote it with conducting an evaluation on generator performance. Let whatsoever evaluation you want to conduct be in line with what the organization actually required and what the organization actually are ready to spend money on. If the end users are requesting for a brand new generator, what of if you have the capacity, you have the financial capacity, you have the manpower capacity, you have all what it takes to reduce the load in that facility in terms of changing your electric bulb to an LED, an energy saving bulb. So you must ensure that there is a clear cut on the evaluation you are carrying out and what the organization can afford. Then 2, you must ensure that the link between evaluation and stated requirements have to be explicit and easy to trace. Don't present what cannot be achievable. Then identify resources available to carry out the facility performance evaluation. You must ensure that the material you have on ground without causing extra cost. Even if it's going to cost extra cost, there is going to be a return that the company is going to gain when they conduct that. Then 3, you have to match data collection with the analysis to the available time and budget. Then determine the appropriate methodology. Don't conduct evaluation in the morning when you know the best approach for it is in the evening. Don't start saying the end users should start conducting a survey when they come back from work and they came back from work, they are all tired and they needed their time to relax and cool off. So you must determine the time and the method, the appropriate method you can use in conducting that evaluation. Then inform respondents, those who are going to respond to evaluation, and or occupant or end user about the purpose of their involvement and how the data will be useful. Every responder or occupant wants to know how that evaluation you are carrying out is going to impact on effectiveness of the facility that they are using. once they know that evaluation doesn't have any effect on their status or their condition in that facility, they just collect the survey and throw it inside those bins. They won't even respond to you. But you need to let them know how that thing is going to impact their life. If you know you have the money to replace the generator that you have on ground, you can conduct an evaluation and tell them. If you tell them that, okay, the reason why we are conducting this is that we are planning to change the generator, and don't say we are planning to change and you know the money to change the generator is not available, don't even conduct the assessment at all. Then establish performance goal based on existing and as well as changing trend. Interpret and synthesize facility performance evaluation findings in useful way for the likely user. You need to interpret all your findings and everything, that it must be in a useful way. Make results widely available for action by different group of stakeholders. It must be available, all the stakeholders, the end user, your management, and your directors and everybody. Suggest a way to consolidate the FP results and the lesson learned as an organization with memory. So when you conduct it, there must be a lesson learned, and those lessons learned must be conducted such a way that at least you can refer back to them as a useful tool at any time, at any point possible, because your evaluation is not a one-off thing. It is a consistent, it is something that you do often and often. You need to develop an effective method to disseminate the consolidated data. All the data you have accumulated, you need to find a means of disseminating the information to all the stakeholders. Then you need to get a record of past projects may serve as a good justification for the future FPEs. That's the reason why I told you FP is not only one time often that you perform. It is a consistent. So you can have opportunity of referring back to those figures and those ones you have done to justify the other future one that you are about to conduct. Then what are the benefits of evaluating your building system? One, a feedback loop to enhance continuous improvement and process. It also helps you to improve fit between occupants and their building. To optimize the optimization of service to suit occupants. So you'll be able to optimize the service you are rendering to suit who are the end users and who are the occupants of that facility. It also helps you to reduce waste of space and energy management. It also helps you to validation of occupants' real need. You come to realize to know exactly what does your occupant need. It also reduces ownership or operational expenses. It helps you to improve competitive advantage in terms of the marketplace, because your occupant can start telling you this is what they do in so estate. Why can't you put it in place in this estate? This is the reason. So when you do all this kind of a thing, you know where you are and what you need to put in place. So this also helps you to improve in terms of competitive advantage. So you know what you are going to use as a benchmark to improve on your performance in your facility. What are the barriers? What are the challenges you face when you want to implement facility performance evaluation? One, fragmented incentive and benefits within the procurement and operation process. So, because there might not be any incentive you are going to give to the responder or to the people that's going to do the evaluation. There might not be any benefits you are going to give to them. So that might cause a kind of a discouragement, because they know that, okay, even when they evaluate you, you don't have anything to offer them. Then lack of grid and reliable indicator. Then potential liability for owner. So it's like you are just gathering the list of liability for the owner of the facility. Exclusion from current delivery expectation, then exclusion from professional curricula. So these are all the challenges you can face when you are conducting facility condition evaluation, because eventually when you have the list of what's needed to be replaced in that facility, you discover that eventually what you have generated is more or less like a liability for the owner. There is generally low money set aside for facility performance evaluation. Now, management doesn't most time have money to spend to perform this kind of evaluation. Sometimes facility performance evaluation may require a considerate amount of time, and the time may not be available. Organization may not always have people with necessary skill to conduct facility performance evaluation. And when organization doesn't have people that has the skill of conducting this, it might require getting you getting a third party. And when you want to get a third party, that is where money comes in. And when money comes in, when there is no money set aside for this, that means that task becomes dead on what? On arrival. So professionals often do not like to have their work judged by other professionals. So a plumber will not want any other plumber to come around to come and judge that, sorry, the kind of plumbing system you put in that place is not very good. And you know, most of the thing that is very common among we professionals is that we often have the opportunity of passing blame. When we get to a facility, the first thing we start itemizing are the faults that are in that place. Not knowing that when we have the opportunity at the same time, the same morning and whatever, we can still repeat the same kind of mistake. So often, we professionals doesn't like our work being judged by other professionals as well. So these are all the challenges you can come across when you want to conducting facility performance evaluation. So this brings us to the end of today's lecture. So I know you have several numbers of questions, which is outside the assessment question. The assessment question, we know what to do about the assessment question. We need to prepare our responses to all the questions itemized in assessment and submit to the appropriate quota. But if you have any other question which is different from this assessment, please, I would really appreciate you by signify by raising up your hand. Then we start picking our question one by one. So let's start. Mr. Kingsley Okpara, okay, one. Let's see other people then. Mr. Kingsley Okpara will be the first person. Second person, please. Okay, Mr. Emmanuel, 2. I'm waiting for more hands, please. Mr. Taufik, 3. Mr. Taufik, you are trying not to show us your face today, Abi. Okay. Miss Ekon. Okay, Mr. Taufik, I can see your face clearly today. Good.
Yes. Good evening, sir.
So I have 4 people raising hand. Okay. Mr. Francis, number 5. Okay, while others are joining to raise hand, Mr. Kingsley, can you please come up with your question, sir? You can unmute yourself. Mr. Kingsley Okpara.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Kingsley.
Yeah, I just want to get more clarification on the different level of FCA assessment. You know, you mentioned the drive-by assessment, you mentioned the walkthrough assessment, and you also mentioned the crawl-through assessment. Fine, okay. But the clear difference between the drive-by assessment and walkthrough assessment, I need you to differentiate them more so that I can easily understand. At this stage, we're talking of drive-by. At this stage, we're talking of walkthrough. The crawl-through is clearly understood. But okay. The clear difference between the drive-by and the walkthrough is what I need.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, like I said earlier on, the 3 of them are very, very useful tools when it's come to facility condition assessment. Either drive-by, either walk-through, either crawl-through. They are all required for condition assessment. But the only difference between the three of them is that the information and the data you gather by each of them are quite different from each other. When you are talking about the drive-through, if you are taking your transportation system, the drive-through assess each of the system in terms of system-wise, instead of breaking them down into subsets, set and subset. They look at it as a system-wise, not as in picking up the, for instance, the plumbing system. What are your plumbing system? You have your WC, you have your janitary, where you have your urinary, you have your WC and whatever. But your drive-through, we just pick everything as a whole. It doesn't streamline everything down. It doesn't break everything down to components. It takes it as a whole sum. But your walkthrough is more or less like a subset. It goes a bit further deep into the system, but not as compared to walkthrough or crawl through. Your drive-through is just like you are standing outside of a building and you are just imagining what is going on in the building. Why your walkthrough is that you walk inside the building, what you are going to see is different from when you are observing the building from an external point of view. But when you walk in, you can itemize one or two issues. Okay, this wall needs to be painted. Oh, sorry, this door is bad. Oh, sorry, this ceiling is having an issue here. Or sorry, oh, this floor needs some tiling work. That is work. But when you're talking about crawl through, that means you pick each component of the building one by one. You pick the transportation one by one. How many transportation do you have in the building? You have staircase, you have lift, you have conveyor, you have your walkway. So that means you pick walkway as a component, and you check what are the issue with the walkway. The interlocking are not in place. The pavement are not in place. Then you now pick your staircase as another component again. You look at the tiling work on the staircase. You look at the railing. You look at the wall surrounding the staircase. That is another thing. You now pick your lift. And that is different from when you walk in. When you walk in, you just, okay, sorry, the staircase is not good. Let's make the staircase good. When you walk in, you notice that, okay, there are some little broken tiles on the floor. That is different from when you actually do a crawl through and you check the railing of that staircase, if it's actually firm or not. But when you walk in, you might not notice. But when you do a drive-through, you might not even notice, you might not even observe that. You might not even be able to see the railings as well. So drive-through is just like you are looking at the building from an external point of view. Walk-through is you walk inside the building and you itemize some one or two things, but it is not as detailed as walk-through. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Kingsley.
Yes, thank you very much, sir.
Okay. So, Mr. Emmanuel, you can go ahead, sir.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Emmanuel.
Okay, my first question has to do with the FCA.
Okay.
I think it's just literature. I may be confused. You said there is why we conduct FCA, and there's also objective of conducting FCA and the benefit of conducting FCA. Are they not all the same thing? Like, so that's my first question. Why is it all separate? Can't you just say, like, are they not all the same thing? The benefits, the why, and the objective.
The objective and the benefits, if you look at them, they are almost the same thing.
Okay.
The objective and the benefits are almost the same thing, because at the end of the day, you're actually arriving at the same point of understanding the condition of your facility one, determine the deficiencies that are all available in that facility two, then you come up with what is called costing element of how to rectify those deficiencies. But in terms of the approach you take in conducting those assessments is quite different from objective and dependent.
That is the why.
You said what?
And that is the why. Why you
That is
conduct
the
it.
why.
Okay.
Yes.
Understood.
The second question.
Oh, okay, my second question is, in FPE, you kept referring to the building, the FPE for building. So is facility performance evaluation only done for building? Because in your explanation,
I'm only using building as an example.
Okay, because you kept on going back and forth about building. So I wanted to be clear about that.
No, it's not, because if I am a facility manager in a plant where what I'm actually maintaining is not only the building, because I have a lot of equipment that I'm maintaining. For instance, I'm working with international building. It is not building per se. I have machines. So there is a way I can conduct what is called performance evaluation of my machine at the same time as a facility manager. So I'm only using building as an example. It is not that it must completely, your condition evaluation must completely be building. Because your condition assessment is just like you pick your generator, for instance. You discover that, how do you determine your condition index? It is just the total cost of maintenance divided by the current value of that asset. When you divide the total value of maintenance by the total.
Sorry, repeat what you said. Please, I didn't get that again. Repeat it.
Okay. Your facility condition index. How do you determine it? It is the ratio of the total current maintenance cost divided by the total current value of outright replacement of that asset multiplied by 100%. That is how you generate your condition index. So if the cost of...
Can you repeat that side? I really need to
let me give an example. If the cost of repairing a generator is 10 million naira, and the cost of replacing that generator is also 10 million naira. 10 million naira divided by 10 million naira give you what? 1. Multiply by 100 becomes what? 100%. So that means that generator is actually due for what? Outright what? Replacement. Assuming the cost of repair is just 10,000 and 1 million naira, and the cost of current outright replacement is 1 million, is 10 million naira. 1 divided by 10, 1 divided by 1 million naira divided by 10 million naira gives you what? 0. What? So by the time you multiply it by 100, you get what? 1. That means your facility is still what? The condition index is still telling you that that asset is still what? Good and maintainable. And that's the reason why you see there is a graph showing that when the condition of an asset is still good, the maintenance cost is also what? Low. But when the condition is no longer tenable, the cost of maintenance becomes what? High. So, Mr. Emmanuel, I hope that answers question
clearly.
number 2.
It does, clearly.
Okay, so question number 3, sir. You said you have 3 questions, so I think we've dealt with 2, so we're expecting 3. Or that's all?
That's all. Thank you very much. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Emmanuel. So, Mr. Awe.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Awe, good evening.
Yes, actually, I have one question, one observation, but let me start with the last one that you just mentioned, facility condition index.
Okay.
Let's assume you need in your organization, you need a generator. You have an epileptic generator, and the cost of repair is 7 million, while the cost of purchase of new one is 40 million. So when you perform with the formula you gave to me now, it gave me about 16, approximately 17%, in which the generator is just 17% necessary. But if you know that.
Let me call me Mr. Awe.
Okay.
You said the cost of repair is 7 million.
Yeah, 7 million. Why the cost of the brand new one is 40 million.
So that should be around 1.7.
Yes,
That
that's
should
why
be
I said
around 1.7%.
yeah, around 1.7%.
That should be around 1.7%. Now, if you look at your facility condition index on that diagram, 0 to 2% is still good.
Yes, where I wanted that is why I came in that practically I've witnessed something like that. In which when you spend that 7 million, the janitor wants to take you up to 6 months before developing another fault. And another probability is what is the assurance that when you spend that 7 million, the fault will be fixed permanently. So sometimes you rather say, let's buy a new one, then you have rest of mind. But you using that formula and the current state of this country and our technicians, that is not guaranteed. You have more and more and more issues in future. That is just my observation as regards that.
Mr. Well, it's a very good observation, but you need to consider whichever observation you are considering, you need to look at the economic aspect of it. That is one. Then the second thing is that you need to look at the fact that if you are thinking about spending 7 million naira, and you are also contemplating about spending 40 million naira to replace that generator, does your current capital expenditure budget accommodate 40 million naira? If the answer is no, that means the only option you have at that period in time is repair. So if the repair can carry you down to the next calendar year, so when you are preparing your budget for the next calendar year, that 40 million naira must have formed part of your capex budget. So you already have it in mind that, okay, sorry, this generator, it's going to take us another 6 months. And in the next 6 months, we're going to get it replaced. Then the second thing is that if the 7 million is the first amount of money you're going to spend on that generator, I don't think, because you have to consider the fact that how many years has that generator served you? Before your generator can be having an expense of up to 7 million naira, even up to 1,000 kVA generator, it's not a generator that has served you for 1 year. At least minimum, that generator must have served your company or your facility for nothing less than 4 or 5 years. Exactly. And when you are checking the number of hours you have used to run that generator, you shouldn't be talking about nothing less than 8,000 running hours minimum.
Exactly.
So if you are talking about a generator that has served you for a period of 6-7 years, and you want to spend 7 million, naira, I don't think it's bad.
And actually,
if you get the right technical people to fix that generator for you, I can assure you they can one way or the other give you. I'm not saying every technical people that's do your generator overhauling for you will give you a better job. I know what we are facing in the country. And that is the reason why most companies always prefer, once they run some generators of certain period, they prefer to offsell it, get some money back, and add to that money to get a new one. I know some companies does that. I know. But before your generator can go to the extent of gulping a huge sum of 10 million naira, 7 million naira, that generator must have served you. If you give it a very good maintenance culture, it must serve you for a minimum of 6 to 7 years. That I'm so sure about it.
Exactly. I get your point,
okay.
Derive something there.
Thank you.
Then the second observation is most of the time when you are citing examples, you normally use buildings, AC to cite generator to cite an example. But since facility management is beyond buildings alone, I think maybe concurrently. Hello?
Yeah.
So it's just an observation. Maybe concurrently, maybe you can use another things to cite them, maybe like production facility, or so we can have like a little or some experience from that side.
I quite get your point.
Okay.
And that's the reason why when Mr. Emmanuel was talking about the other time, I said, if I am a facility manager in Coca-Cola, for instance, or Nigerian Brewery, for instance, I'm not actually maintaining only building. I'm also maintaining my equipment, which are machines. So it is easier for me to conduct a facility condition assessment on my machines. And who are my end users? Instead of tenants in a real estate, my end users are the operator who are operating the machines. My end users are my production managers who are actually using the machine to produce the goods that are going to the customer. And part of my evaluation could be if that machine is supposed to yield or produce 1,000 products per hour, is that machine still actually producing that 1,000 products per hour? That is where efficiency of that machine comes in. So it is all about, but because the reason why I most of the time make use of building is that building is what everybody on a daily basis can have access to, either domestic, either in the office, either even, there is no how you will stay in a day without having access to the building.
That's very true.
And there are some days that I can have within even 2-3 months, I might not even have access to machines.
That's very true.
So, that I think, do you still have any other questions?
Yes,
sir?
yes, this is just my question. Yes, under the purpose of facility assessment, you were mentioning about the forecast,
Okay.
the facility you are maintaining is like a building that was built, 3 buildings matched together, but was built at different years. Let's assume before the building A, then when they first started maybe when they started the business, they started with building A, and building A was built in 1990. They expanded and built another building. When that place was no more containing them, they built another building and attached it to building A, and that one was built in 2000. Then the business expanded further, and they had to build another building, building C, and they built that one in year 2005. You know, we have like 3 buildings combined together forming one facility, and we have different
age.
Yes, and we have different age. So when we are doing our facility assessment, are we going to be are we going to combine them and give them one data, or we separate them and give them different data? So when we are talking about the structural integrity and others, do you understand what how my question is? Are we going to separate the buildings, give them different data, or we manage the 2 buildings together? Maybe we'll find average and release the data for the management. That is just my question.
Okay, Mr. Taufik,
Yes,
one thing you need to realize that if I constructed my building this year, and somebody constructed another building next year, there is, for that 1 year period that building has served, there is going to be a level of deterioration in that building that was built a year ago. The deterioration might not be as much as when you compare it. It might not be obvious compared to a building that has served a purpose of 5 years. I hope you are getting my point. So when you are doing your assessment, the number of defects or deficiencies you are going to pick on the first building might not be as much as the second building. And the second building might not be as much as the third building, because each of them have a year of usage. And the second thing is that before you can have the opportunity of adding extra building to an existing building, the structural engineer must have guaranteed you that that foundation you have on ground can accommodate additional building attached to it. And if that is not possible, there can be introduction of extra column, extra build, extra foundation, a concrete foundation to accommodate the additional building you are attaching to it. So if you have building of different type like that, and that's the reason why your as-built diagram is mentioned when you are conducting facility condition assessment, because all those details will have been in your as-built drawing. Then the building record also serves a purpose, because with the building record, you come to realize integrity, you come to realize the number of beams, you come to realize the number of columns. It's just like a building that's just a story building before. Then you have the plan of adding like 2 or 2 more story building to it. It's not that it's not possible, it is possible. But the bottom line is that there are some certain things you have to put in place before that can be done. And doing that will definitely affect your foundational level. It might even affect the structure of the building. So when you have building A, then you want to attach building B. There are a lot of structural things that you need to carry out. It might even require you carrying up a structural engineer to come and check the structural integrity of that building before you can even add a single block of 9 inches to that building. So if you want to expand that building to another 3rd building, the same thing has to be done. But when you are conducting your facility condition assessment is not all about the building envelope. It's not about the wall or the foundation of the building alone. You are considering the foundation, the wall of the building, the roof of the building, the equipment and assets within that building. If I'm a facility manager now, and Coca-Cola invited me to come and take up the Coca-Cola plant that they have in Agidingbi in Lagos State, if I'm going to conduct what is called facility condition assessment, I'm not considering only the building alone. I am going to even conduct up to their water treatment plant. I am going to conduct my assessment up to their fire safety, whatever. I am going to conduct up to the security system they have in place, because that might require me including some extra camera into their CCTV. If they have like 20 security personnel, why can't I put camera in those places where we are mounting camera security personnel and reduce the number of costs I'm going to spend on their salary on a daily basis? So when you are conducting facility condition assessment, you are conducting to improve, 1, to reduce the deficiencies, 2, to also look at what are defective and rectify them. So that's the reason why I'm saying it is not all about building alone. It is completely entire facility as a whole. Because in a facility, it's not only the building that you have. Your transportation system, if you have a facility of 7,000 flats, you will have tarred roads. This is part of the facility you are going to conduct assessment on. You have your gardens. It's still part of what you are going to conduct assessment on. Because that might require you to have a gardener who is going to be cutting the grass every time. So it is not all about the building alone, just like I already mentioned. So like the question you have raised, that you have building A, building B, building C, each of them will have separate lifespan and their condition will be different from each other. That's just the way it is, sir.
Thank you so much.
Your voice is breaking, Mr. Wen.
Yes, I said I got your point clearer now.
Okay.
You are evaluating them differently.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Francis, I think I've not answered any of your questions. Mr. Francis, come on, please.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Francis.
Hello, good evening.
Mr. Francis, I can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, please, the formula for the facility condition index, please, can you repeat it? I have the total current maintenance cost divided by total
current maintenance cost divided by total replacement value.
Okay, it's replacement value.
Yeah,
multiply by 100.
Yes.
Multiply by 100%.
Yes. Because when you are getting your figure, you are getting it in fraction.
Yes.
It's going to be 0.
So multiply by 100%.
So when you multiply, so you're coming to like a figure.
Okay. Okay, so I got that, sir. Thank you. For my question,
okay,
as a facility manager, yes, with no experience of, with no knowledge of civil or structural engineering,
yes,
and you want to conduct a test on the integrity of the building, of course, you have to invite a professional. Am I right?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so how are you sure Or how do you determine the accuracy of what they are giving you since you don't have knowledge of it at all? How will you be sure that they are not professionals themselves?
A wrong report.
A wrong report, yes.
Yes.
You know, we have to, in our field as a facility manager, you have to bring so many professionals to do so many things for you. And you have to keep learning from them, from the report they bring. But from the first instance, maybe they will dupe you. I don't know. From experience, I just wanted to advise from experience.
I get your point so clearly. And
that is my first question, sir.
This is where networking comes in. You actually not the only facility manager in the whole of the country. You're not up to several thousands of facility managers currently in the country. So this is where networking comes in. You have several numbers of people who are in this field, who must have done that kind of a thing or the other. And the second thing you need to realize is that the information that the structural engineering is giving you is not only for only your use alone. It is for the use of your company. You are only private to that information because you are the facility manager. And in order for you to know if that information is accurate or not, by the time you started asking the structural engineers some certain questions, okay, what do you mean by this word? You don't ask them questions as if you don't know what you are doing. No. By the time you started asking them some questions, okay, sorry, I don't understand what you mean by this point. Can you please expatiate? Can you please shed more light? From the way they have started talking to you, you'll be picking one or two things because you are also a learned person. Then, after you have interviewed, call up some of your colleague or your senior colleague who has done things like that in the past. You can easily get a lot of information from them. Then you can even go do a lot of research on how to get that. So by the time you are going to compile all those three avenues together, you definitely come to realize that their report is right, the report is wrong.
Yeah, I get it. The point I actually got is the networking point. Yes, okay. You are right. I think with that you can simplify your action by networking with other people, especially when you are maybe in a group with people like you that can give advice.
Okay.
So then the second one, when you were explaining the challenges in conducting facility performance evaluation.
Yes.
Yeah, in my head, I was thinking this could be, that is for the disadvantages or the challenges. This could be the reason, from your practical experience, could that be the reason why most of our facilities are not run professionally? Because even when you go to buildings like facilities like 1004, you will notice so many things that from what we have learned so far in this course, so many of them are not applicable there, or they are not applied there. Is it just the Oyibo things that we are learning, or are we planning to start upgrading ourselves in Nigeria to come up to this standard of knowledge in maintaining our facilities? Do you understand what I mean by Oyibo things now? All the things that I are saying, they don't find it difficult to, like, you want to get an assessment or a review from the end user or a survey. Like you said, if the survey does not give an end user any value, you may just trash it. But I'm sure, I've not stayed in the European state before, but I'm sure that it's rare to see people just think about themselves alone here. But I believe we should start thinking about every other person, whether it's going to benefit me or not. Am I giving this person an helping hand to do this? From your practical experience, do you think is the reason we are running all our facilities just for the sake, just get somebody to know, manage? Like for me, I can manage a facility even without attending this course. But attending this course has given me more advantage.
Mr. Francis,
from what
I quite get your point. One of the reasons why you attend the training is to acquire knowledge. That is one.
Yes.
One. Two, it is after the training you come to realize that there are some certain mistakes you've been making that with the training you learn that this is not right. That is true. Then 3, it also puts you in a position whereby you are different from others who doesn't attend the training. Because the way you present your case is different from the way somebody who has not gone for any training will present his case. Now you understand what is called facility condition assessment. This is what we, one way or the other, more or less, let me say more or less like on daily basis. But let me say the willpower or the ability to present our case in such a way that justify might not be there. Let me now give you another example like that 1004 that you mentioned. 1004, if I am not mistaken, is like a 1004 block of flats. Not just 1004 buildings, 1400 block of flats. Right or wrong?
Yes, you're right. 1004.
Taking that facility as an example, can you deduce the number of plumbing work you'll be having in a day, on a daily basis in that facility? That means you have enormous, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
When there is no, because when there is no capital available, there is no how in that kind of facility you won't have what we call backlog.
Yes.
Then, when you list the number of plumbing challenges you have in that place, what you consider first is you give priority to the ones that are very, very critical. If I am an occupant in one of the flats in that 1004, and I have a water leakage in the flat, I expected you as a facility manager, please, can we hum or mute? Can we hum mute? There's background noise. Okay, thank you. So I expected you as a facility manager in that 1004 to attend to my plumbing problem immediately. One of the challenges that we have as far as facility management is concerned is operation and maintenance. And for you to actually be there in terms of operation and maintenance, this is where training like this comes into place. Because you know what to check part-time, you know what to do part-time. This training is taking you out of the orientation of the fact that you do what we call run to failure to what we call inspection kind of maintenance. You don't wait until when there is a leakage before you start doing 1 or 2 checks on your plumbing work. You don't wait until when there is a breaker that caught fire before you do your maintenance activities on your LV panel, which is your low voltage panel. You don't wait until when your pumping machine started leaking before you start checking 1 or 2 things on that pumping machine. Your preventive maintenance, your reliability maintenance, your schedule maintenance tells you 1 or 2 things you need to check on your pumping machine, on your equipment, on your generators, on all the equipment that are serving you before they actually break down. But before the training, you might not know all these things. But after the training now, you have a facility manager, you've learned a lot of things. So if I was you, I can go back to my facility and draw up what I call a checklist. Give it to my technicians. From today upward, on this particular equipment, this air conditioning, these are what are the reports I want you to be giving me on a daily basis. Now, the technician knows that, sorry, it's like, Oga don't know some things now. Then at the same time, you need to impact the knowledge you have gained on them. That's what they call train the trainer. You also train them. This is the reason why we are not getting this right before. This is the reason why we have to be doing it this way so that we can get it right. This is the purpose of this maintenance activity that I want you to be doing, so that we can see that there is a breakdown is about to occur before it actually breaks down. This will actually reduce our maintenance costs. And when we reduce our maintenance costs, the management is happy with us. And when the management is happy with us, the management also see it's not a rocket science. Everybody see that last year we spent so amount of money on maintenance. This year we need to spend so amount. But the other challenge is that most of the facility we maintain, most of the assets we have in that facility, we don't have what we call history card for those facilities. It could be very tasking, but the bottom line is it helps a lot. I have a 1 horsepower pumping machine that I'm using to pump water from flat A to flat B. I can maintain an history card for that pump. Any day I change ordinary bolt on that pumping machine, I recorded it on the history card. So if I walk up to my senior facility manager that I need to change this pump, and he said why, and I showed him, this is the history card. This is the number of days, the number of time we've done a repair work on this pumping machine. This is the amount we have spent. And he sees it. I don't think there is any senior facility manager that wouldn't give you an approval to go ahead. But most of the time, we don't have anything to show for it. I have just I pass me by generator. I pass my neighbor. I know when I service that generator and the cost of the servicing. I know when I change the fuel pump. I know when I change the carburetor. I know when I change the rope that I'm using to draw it. So when I come up with the request of changing that generator, and everybody come to see that the amount we've been spending on that generator is almost equivalent to cost of buying another one, nobody will say, go ahead and start spending money. And EP, there is something that we call conscience, and there's something that we call ethics. You have already fulfilled the ethics of facility management because you have your record and you use your record to request for replacement. But because there is no availability of money and because of bureaucracy, somebody is not approving it. But your conscience is already in line and in tune with the ethics of the facility management as an organization. You know what you ought to do as a facility manager, you have done it. So if bureaucracy or politics, one way or the other, has stopped you from getting an approval in that place, please, that doesn't mean you should stop that act or that will of doing it. Continue, because one day you get to a facility management environment where they will value what you have been doing. But if you allow that bureaucracy and that politics to stop you from doing it, it will affect you when you get to another place. I hope I have a bit answered your question, Mr. Francis.
Very well, sir. I appreciate it. Very well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Francis. So, Mr. Emmanuel, I can see you are raising up your hand. I will come back to you, but let me just quickly pick up Mr. Viana, Mr. Daniel. Mr. Viana now.
All right, thank you, sir. Good evening, class.
Thank you. Somebody quickly corrected me on how to pronounce your name before you crucify me. So today you've decided not to take us to the beach, Abi.
We are in the office today.
Okay, Mr. Viana, go ahead, sir.
I just want to share thoughts and experience.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, on the issue of having several development on a building, I can quite relate to that. Okay, like in some of the riverine community, I will give an example, like the Opobo axis, because of the shortage of land. You have a situation where a family of, say, 3 boys, they have a piece of land, so it is limited. So the first son builds the first floor, the second floor belongs to the second son. The other person builds on top because of the limited land. So those kind of things can play out. Then also, I was also involved in a project where we had to extend a laboratory. The current laboratory was about over 30 years old, and so they needed to develop. So we did like an attachment to it, so to develop. But one thing that will strike you, like if you do your inspection, you can visibly see from the fault that the way the faults will present themselves, you will know that probably this installation has been there for a while. part of what we observed during one of this kind of inspection was that we noticed that there were frequent leakages in the O section of the lab. So when we tried to dig further to find the root cause, we noticed that the pipings were copper pipings, and over time, like I said, the building is over 30 years old. They are beginning to corrode. So each time they fix one point, the leakage is manifesting another weaker point. So eventually, based on this kind of inspection, we decided to change to a PVC pipe. It was a cost-effective approach, and it was able to solve that problem, because unfortunately, the piping were open through the ceiling. So each time you have, it's almost like a rain leakage. Some people will mistake it that there's a leakage from the rain, but it was actually the piping that was causing all those problems. Then just also to add voice to what you said on communication, when I used to be in the safety department as a safety inspector, we had cases where we will make some observation and we will report, but we were not getting the requisite management response.
So action
and
is.
it has to do with how you communicate. And are you communicating with facts? Are you able to communicate so that people understand what you are trying to say? Because it's not enough to shout.
Exactly.
You may be shouting and you're just making noise. Nobody's hearing what you're saying. So myself, in conjunction with some of the operators in that particular plant, decided to measure the quantity of oil that was leaking from that particular turbine. So we are using a 1.5 liter bottle to take the measurement. And we, over the week, we were able to say, okay, we are losing about 20 liters of lube oil. So we're able to put it in perspective. So if you calculate the cost, the management is buying the oil, they know what the cost is. So by the time we're able to put it in perspective to say, okay, over a 2 weeks period, we have lost 40 liters of lube oil. It is easy for them to put the numbers and say, we have to get that thing done immediately. So how we communicate is also important.
Sure.
All right, so thank you. That's my
Thank you, Mr. Vianana. I really appreciate that. I think I have the same issue in my former company, and one of my technicians got a promotion because of that. We have one of our restaurants where we have a 300 kV generator, and we never noticed that there is a leakage within the generator area, and the leakage is so minute to the extent that you don't see the traces of the diesel outside. It is concealed within the generator area. So the guy has to put a very small bowl, and he started getting that diesel on a daily basis. And it come to a point that it showed to everybody that we're losing up to almost about 500 liters of diesel on a monthly basis that we didn't know. And as soon as we put a gap, we stop that leakage, that is the end of the whole thing. And that guy got a promotion because of. So most of the time, that is the reason why this training helps you a lot, because you know how to conduct your condition assessment on any equipment. So when you conduct the condition assessment, you have your cost at your disposal. So when you are presenting your case, you are presenting it with pictures, with facts, with a lot of data. So even if it is not approved, you have fulfilled the ethics of the organization you belong to. That is just it. So Mr. Daniel, so before I come back to Mr. Emmanuel, you still have to wait. I'll take Mr. Daniel and take Ms. Ekon before I come back to you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Daniel.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. How is work today, sir?
No problem, sir.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
So, my question is, I just wanted to reiterate that that facility condition index. By the time you do a calculation, which comes in fraction, and you multiply it by 100, what value do you actually see as being critical for you to decide to change? For instance, if I do a calculation and hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
For instance, if I do my calculation and I get 0.8 times 100, that's 80%. Is that sufficient to say replace the equipment, or does it have to get to 1? Like you said, 1, that's 100 before you know that it's due for replacement.
Okay, I'm sharing a slide now. I hope you can see it.
I see it.
Go ahead.
I see it.
Go ahead. Down. Further down. Go. There you go. Yeah. You can see that slide that is currently showing on the screen.
Yeah.
We have 0 to 2%. That is excellent. When it is 2, 4 to 5, that is good.
Okay.
From 5 to 10, that is fair. Then from 10 upward, that is poor. I hope you've seen it now.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you do your calculation, even if your television in your house, you can do the same thing for your television in your house. So when you see that you get 10% upward, that means you need to buy another television. Maybe this time around, you're going to buy a smart television that you can use internet with it.
Okay.
Okay. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Daniel.
Yes, it does. I think I have one other question, but it has escaped my mind. If I remember,
No problem. If you remember, you can raise your hand again. I will come back to you. Okay. So, Miss Ekon.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. Okay.
Please go ahead.
So my question is just okay. If you're having barrier with low funds and top management are refusing to comply with bringing in money to generate more money, since after all, facility management at the end of the day is all about business. So I don't know, how else do I present a more organized, I don't know what's the word for it now, to get them to comply and see reasons to why things are being faulty and all that.
It all depends on the kind of facility you are maintaining. Are you in a real estate? Or
yes,
you
real
have
estate.
Real estate, yes. You know, real estate is all about, are you selling or you are renting the apartment to tenants?
Okay, general facility management for an estate.
General facility management, which
managing, yes, day-to-day running.
You are maintaining on behalf of client, a third party, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you are just more or less like a third party facility management company inside that estate.
Yes, sir.
Okay. One thing you have to realize is this, like I already mentioned, because due to this course you have already attended now, you know how to complete your condition assessment and everything. And you also agreed with me that it is not all the requests that you make that is being turned down for approval. Some are approved, some are not approved, right or wrong? Hello, Mr. Ekon.
Yes, I had to mute. Yes, you're correct.
Okay.
Not all that we rejected.
Okay, so then have you gone back to the draw table to understand the reason why those ones that are not approved, why are they not approved? Because one thing is that you are actually looking at replacement, but the top management are looking at a lot of factors. They might be looking at, do we actually need to spend that money now? Can that money wait? That is one. They are looking at their cash flow. That is two. Because you can't pull out the whole money in the whole company because you want to get something done. Then three, they are looking at how does tenant occupying that facility are turning up in paying their service charge. Because what you are actually using to do all those operation and maintenance is service charge. It's not the rent.
Yes.
I hope you are getting me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you need to understand why those ones are not being approved. It could be as a result of money. It could be as a result of the fact that it is necessary, but it is not urgent. It's a four diagonal, just like four square. There is a column that says urgent and necessary. There is a column that says urgent, not necessary. There is another column that says not necessary, but urgent. So you need to understand those 4 diagonals. So there is no any management that will not attend to what is urgent and what is necessary. Then others can follow, but what is urgent and what is necessary cannot be asked to wait. It must be attended to immediately. So then too, we don't actually know the way you'll be presenting those things for approval. But in light of this course, with what you have learned so far, your mode of presentation will be different from the way it is before. And I can assure you, if at all you've been having 50% approval now, if you are doing everything in line with all you have learned in the course of this course, I can assure you, you can increase from to almost 90% approval. I can assure you.
Okay, sir.
So I hope that answers your question.
I think so. I think so.
Okay. No, if you're not convinced, still come up with your further question, or if there's any further things you notice, please come up with it. Let's try.
From all you are saying, I think it has to be more in a more physical diagram, physical notes, physical records that they could see and hold and even go back to at a freer time. Yeah, that's it.
Exactly. So, Mr. Emmanuel, I'm finally back to you, sir.
Thank you very much. So my question goes to the facility condition, the FCA index. The question is, how do you determine how often you carry it out? Is there a formula, or is it based on regulation, probably for an equipment or the facility in which we're talking about? Or how do you determine how often you do it? Is there a formula to it, or is it something you do based on manufacturer's instruction, or based on regulation of the facility or the equipment? So that's what I wanted to know.
We are all facility managers. If I'm coming in as a facility manager in a company, I don't need anybody to tell me I need to quickly conduct facility condition assessment, because I want to know exactly the problem I'm going to be facing when I come in. So I don't want to start running up and down when there are issues. I want to understand my facility. I want to know what are the problems I'm having. I want to know the number of assets I have, and I want to understand what are the conditions of those assets currently. That is one. Then, if I am a facility manager working for a facility management company, and we are about to take a third-party property to be maintaining that facility for them, to me, this should be the first thing I will do in order not to take liability for my company. Because there could be a lot of things that they are hiding. There could be a lot of backlog which has already been accumulated from the initial people that are maintaining that facility. This needs to be conducted immediately. So once I conducted this, I present it to the management, and the management walk up to the third party and says, sorry, before we can take up this facility, before we can start maintaining it for you, we need you to put this thing in place. And that is where dilapidation of whatever comes in. So the client can say, okay, Mr. Emmanuel, go ahead, get this repair, give me the cost, I will pay you, and from there you maintain. And after that, you cannot complain to me that this is not good, that is not good. Or I can say, okay, Mr. Emmanuel, don't worry, wait. I will send all my team to that place. I have my contractor that I use. They will put everything you have already itemized in place, and you can take up the maintenance of that facility from there. That is another thing. Then the other thing is that after taking over the facility and you started maintaining, you need this to conduct this often and often. It could be a yearly, whatever. It all depends on how tedious your facility is. It could be a year, and when you know you are at the abreast of every activity in that facility, you can make it a 2 years assessment. So then at times, instead of you spending money, and you know you don't want to spend a huge amount of money, when your technician walk up to you and say he noticed a differential shift facility, now you walk up to that place to go and sit, and you know that, oh, sorry, this wall has already opened out, and you see it come from up to down. Immediately, what do you need? You need to consult what? A civil engineer, right? because your technician know what is called condition assessment. He has already seen it, and he relayed the information down to you. And you, as the lead facility manager, you know the right thing to do. You need to quickly call what?
An expert.
A simple guy to come and assess it. An expert assess it and give you the cost. That doesn't mean you conduct a whole complete assessment in the whole of facility, in the whole of that facility.
No.
But at the same time, you have done what is called facility condition assessment. Yes or no?
Yes.
So it's more or less like a daily routine. It might not be the whole complete entire facility.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to get.
On a daily basis, you get to your facility, you resume in the morning, and you do what you don't want to walk around.
Walk around.
Not you walk around. What you are conducting is facility condition assessment.
All right. All right. So,
I hope that answers your question, sir.
very much. Thank you.
Okay, sir. So, Miss Ekon, you're still raising your hand. Miss Ekon, do you have another question again?
No, sir, I don't. My answer.
Okay. Because you are still raising your hand, that's why. Mr. Muili,
good evening.
Please go ahead with your question, sir. Good evening, Mr. Yu.
Muili, yes. I just wanted to share something with the group with respect to the various questions. When you're a facility manager in any premises, your relationship with senior management and lower management or your technicians is very key. Seeking for approval of any cost, the first thing senior management to look at is it in the budget? If it's not either in the expense or capex, you have to go an extra mile for them to go through their policy to create that fund for you. And if you don't tell them regularly the importance of why you need to change this thing, they will never take you seriously. So your relationship with them is very key. They are both your stakeholder. There's the stakeholder, the people that use your building, and they're the stakeholders, the management that approve your payment. So if you have any equipment, after you've done anything you've done, in your approval, you need to explain. What I did in my own sites then was that you write the approval. At the same time, when you write the approval, you give them, you need to explain to them word for word, because some of them do not have time for you. Their business is not facility. They have their primary assignments in the building. So if you take their time, you need to be able to explain to them the importance of why you're doing this. Then there are different kinds of premises or where facility managers are, like the fellow that said about 1004. In some places, to pay service charge can be incredible for the tenant. And when that occurs, a lot of things will lack. Because as you said before, it's the service charge that you will use to get all these things done. And if everybody is not paying as I went due, some things will drop. So that's, again, and if it's not in the budget prior for that year, and serves as either OPEX or CAPEX, there's no way they're going to convince a tenant who has paid rent, like a third party that you're servicing, who has paid rent, who has before initially was grumbling about his service charge. Now you throw him an additional cost in the middle of the year. He's going to tell you, why didn't they do this earlier? So then the history, the one I just picked that I wanted to mention is that as much as the facility managers, we have to put a lot of human touch to it to get our things done as and when we need it to be done. Thank you.
Mr. Muili, I really appreciate your comments, and you've actually said it well. Our relationship with our technicians, our senior managers, and everybody, even people are in other departments within the company, goes a long way. I don't think as a facility manager, the best person that's supposed to be your friend is your finance manager. Give him the right information when he needed information, and let him know that you are on top of your job. Then, I'm not saying we shouldn't believe our technician, but we should try as much as possible not to believe blindly. Because a finance manager asks you that, but I approved pumping machine for you 2 months ago. Why are we buying another pumping machine again? You know, when it's come to that point, a finance person asking you, why are we changing pumping machine in this place often? It's like you as a facility manager, it's like a bomb. You don't know what you are doing. Because that is the question you should have asked your technician before you even go to the extent of seeking for an approval. Because when you change the first pumping machine, and in less or little or no time, another one occurred again. To me, you should sit your technician down. Something is wrong somewhere. Oh boy, let's go and troubleshoot. Don't just say it is your own job. Because the bottom line is that you know more than you do. So, and one thing is that let us realize one fact. A facility manager is not a professional. Please take it. A facility manager, you are a generalist. You are not a professional. Don't say I am electrical. No, don't say I am mechanical. No, you are a general, because you are going to deal with legal, you're going to deal with operation and maintenance, you are going to deal with HR, you are going to deal with finance, you are going to deal with marketing, you are going to deal with safety, you are going to deal with supply chain. That is the reason why you are not a professional, you are a generalist. So when you are drawing up your SLA, your KPI, you're dealing with legal. When you want to place a purchase order, you want to buy a lot of things, you are dealing with supply chain. There are some certain things you want to do, and safety people are telling you, sorry, you can't do it. There must be something that we call a chink. The China people call it chink between you and all the departmental head in the whole of that facility. Don't be surprised. You need gate man at times. Don't commonize those cleaners who are cleaning floor. You need them at times for you to succeed. Even before your Oga will see it, your cleaner will call you and tell you, Oga, once WC is leaking there. You know, when your Oga sees it, he's not going to talk to you in a lighter time. Yes. Because the guy will tell you, what are you doing in the office? Are you waiting for me? Am I paying you? And you are also waiting for me to come and see when the WC is leaking. But ordinary cleaner can save you of that embarrassment. Your cleaner can call you, Oga, if I say one thing, they leave there for that place. So even before you know, your cleaner can even be the one that will call your plumber. And after they've resolved it, they will tell you, Oga, there's what leaking, but we have resolved it. There must be a good relationship between you and everybody in their facility. Don't just say, okay, I'm a facility manager. You carry it to your head. No. Somebody will help you to bring. So you need to form a good relationship with everybody in that facility. Security, cleaners, even occupants. The occupants are the one that we send, they are the one that will approve your promotion. Because they are the one that will be passing it. They will send a lot of information about you that you don't, your senior management. You won't know. And they won't tell you. And when you are doing good, they will also be writing your appraiser behind you, you won't know. Yeah. That's the reason why you don't joke with them, everybody. I hope we learn a lot today. So at this point, I'm going to call it a day.
Thank you very much, sir.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Bye.